welcome to Real Horror. This is a show where we discuss the horror movie of the week, and tonight we're discussing we're actually comparing the original My Bloody Valentine 1981 to the My Bloody Valentine 2009, and
Correct.
we have some strong opinions on that. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether it's now or on the replay. I appreciate your time. And I see Mr. Pulp Noir in the chat. Thank you for being here. And thank you to my panelists for being here. Tommy, how you doing tonight?
Well, it's just one of those days dealing with idiots on Twitter, as usual. Unfortunately, those idiots happen to work for Twitter, so.
Yes, that's true. Well, thank you for being here. And I love the werepig.
The werepig is always present.
Vinny, how's it going tonight? Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's always a blast. Maybe we'll pull out Batman later. It's up to you. You let me know. But looking forward to talking about these movies. I enjoyed them both, so looking forward to it.
Well, you know what, Vinny? I sure as hell hope that Batman pulls out because we don't want to see that conglomeration between Batman and She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
We don't want to see that.
He's got bat protection on, always.
Draven, oh, nice. I like your background.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to talking about these movies. It's been a while since I've seen both of them, so it was nice rewatching them again because they still kind of surprised me. Just because the first one, I wasn't quite sure. I couldn't remember which one it was that was the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I originally watched them, I watched the first one, and then you watch the second one, and then basically the killers are switched. So I was like, which one is the killer in the first one? And then when I watched another one, I'm like, okay, so it's the other guy. But yeah, it was just nice watching these again, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yes, I'm glad you're here. And Etep, how you doing tonight? Thank you for being here.
I am excellent, and for this momentous occasion of My Bloody Valentine, I wore the scariest dunce cap I could find. Yes, I am cloaked in threads of sheer stupidity, my friends.
Oh,
it's good to be here.
You tell him, Dutep. It's always good to have you on screen with us.
Yes, I am here, rest assured. No common sense shall be used in any pontification or prognosis this evening from me.
No, it's good to be here, even though my camera's got me witness protection. Thank you. I just watched the 81 version of My Bloody Valentine last weekend with the wife and the kid. I didn't get a chance to watch the 09 one. I saw it a long time ago, though, like right around the time there we are. Now I'm in glorious age. Glorious! But no, I've seen it a while ago, and man, the grays are really popping. I like that. It makes
there you go. Now you're back to normal.
Yeah, see, it focused back in on my beauty now. But no, it's good to be here. I'm looking forward to dissecting this. I have a strong opinion about both of these movies.
Good.
But it might be not be what you think so.
Especially the scene with the midget.
Yes, I'm glad. I want to hear people's opinion. So, let's get right into it. So, I'll start off with the basic synopsis of the original, and basically, it's a night of the Valentine's dance, and it's like 20 years after the mining accident, and they're having another Valentine's dance. And the bartender is filling these kids in because basically at this point, everyone thinks it's a crazy legend that there's a miner that is like, will come back to massacre people if they hold another Valentine's dance. And that's basically the backstory of Harry Warden. And now, and he was like sent in a mental institution. How long was he in the mental institution for? Like a year?
It was like a year to a few years, I think.
Yeah. It was between 1 and 3, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
From what I can remember.
Yeah, I think it was a year he was in the mental institution because when they found him down in the mines, he was, well, you remember he was like basically
He was the only survivor.
he
And
was
he
the
went
only
Yep.
survivor.
insane.
Yeah, yeah, he was the only survivor, and he was surviving off of, well, there were originally 5 of them that were trapped,
Yep.
and he ended up being the only one that they found, and he was eating an arm when they found him.
hmm
Donner, party of 6. We
Yeah,
have your table
Yeah.
ready.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I love that visual of him
Mhm.
sitting there and just eating that arm. I was like,
yeah, that was awesome, actually.
it
And
was
how-
freaking great.
I do wish they spent a little more time building up his story a bit in that original one. About that, or spend a little more time with them there before just kind of showing that, because it was the way that, I don't know, it was hard to get into that first movie, to be quite honest.
I think quite honestly though, they explained all that they needed to explain as far as the
Mhm.
backstory, and I think like when we get into the comparison thing, I think that's the biggest difference between the original and the remake version, where if it's even supposed to be considered a sequel to it, which I don't think it is.
It's a remake.
That, yeah,
I thought
they
it's a
just
reboot.
in that one they just completely throw you right into the beginning. They're just showing you like, you know,
The news
paper
clippings.
headlines really quick, but they never delve into any of that background whatsoever, and you're just thrown right into murder after murder after murder. At least you understand, okay, there was a mine accident, here he is, he's trapped and he's trying to survive. And you know, I mean, granted, they don't tell the entire backstory of why people are dead down there, and it had nothing to do with originally just the mine collapsing, but him. But we do wind up getting that later on in the full disclosure.
yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so that kind of helps me answer Mr. Pulp Noir's question. Which one should I watch, 80s or 2009 version? Well, if the original lore is in the 1981 version,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say watch them both.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, because I
Yeah.
honestly,
Yep.
I watched them on back-to-back days. So I've never seen either one. So when I
Okay.
watched the '80s one, I watched the '09 one the very next day, and both of them made sense to me. But I'll say two things. So I agree with Tommy on that. I think the '09 one, they could have given more, because it is all in the headlines, but they do zip through them kind of quickly, because I think the assumption is that people who are watching that movie saw the original. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that was the approach on it, which again, since they're both streaming, that's fine to do, and you could enjoy them both for that reason. But I think again, the first one's a little bit hard for me to get into. Again, the way that they did the storytelling to get to those points, and they kind of finally give that Harry guy his backstory and all that. Like, I don't know, I wasn't invested in it, because the actors that they chose to, I didn't really care for them. I didn't give a shit what was really going on. I'm like, okay, I just want to see more deaths at this point. But
Yeah.
in the '09 one, I was more invested in the characters and kind of what they built. They did have a good jumping off point. Like, if they wanted to do more, they could definitely do more. But then they just never did. But yeah, I don't know. There's things I like about both of them, things I dislike about both of them. I'll say that.
Yes. So, yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And yeah, I guess I'll add my 2 cents on the comparison as well. On the original, I like how they left it to the bartender guy, I forget his name, who basically was telling those kids, like, you're going to be sorry if you hold this dance and stuff.
Mhm.
And then he gets into the whole lore, explaining who Harry Warden is and what happened and all that stuff. I like how they when he was explaining it, they kind of did the cinematic flashback of the events of what happened.
Mhm.
I thought that was really well done in the original. And yeah, that was actually one of the gripes that I had with the 2009 remake, is they didn't spend enough time developing, like explaining who
Mhm.
Harry Warden was. Like,
Yeah.
why do we care about the minor?
They like rush
they-
through
they-
a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's less emphasis on like Valentine's Day in that.
Yeah.
Like the reason that
Mhm.
he is back in the first one is because of Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
This one, he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna show back up and start killing people. Like,
Yeah,
it
Well, you know,
happens to be
it-
Valentine's Day, but yeah,
There's one other thing I wanna hit real quick while you were talking about the bartender. Doesn't he kind of remind you of this guy just a little?
I'm a messenger of God. You're doomed if you stay here.
Yep.
Crazy Ralph.
Yeah.
There's always one of those guys in all the
Yep.
best of those old horror movies,
Yes.
and
Right.
he
Yeah.
fit that role.
Definitely.
Definitely.
That's actually, I was thinking of that guy when I was watching the original, and I was thinking of that guy from Friday the 13th, and I was thinking, like, you know, like this is the guy who knows everything, and then they're not going to listen to anything he says because they're just going to assume he's crazy. Like, it's that trope, and
Yeah.
you can kind of tell in a lot of the stuff in the original that it was definitely inspired by Friday the 13th, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Valentine's Day was Saturday the 14th.
hmm
hmm
And so yeah, that I really like that. I was like, that's got to be some kind of nod. That's got to be something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was
Hey,
good.
No,
Frankie.
it's also a nod to that comedy movie that they put out called Saturday the 14th
Yep.
as well.
Dude, that movie
But
was-
I think Saturday. I think Saturday 14th might have been after My Bloody Valentine. Now I'm thinking about it. I forget when that was made now.
As
I didn't
old.
know it was a thing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. Yep. It is. It is a very good thing.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, again, both movies were very enjoyable. But I'll say one thing though, '09, I give more. I lean towards it because I do like more of what they did with the characters and Jensen Ackles specifically. Like I love the head fuck that he was going through, and the way
Yeah.
that they built it up too. Because there were points where it's like, oh wait a minute, yeah, he could be all right. It could be, but then you're like, no, it can't because her husband wouldn't have done those things. Like you know, they were around, they were together for so long. Like, but I mean, obviously, you know who the killer was.
My
from
husband's
the
such
get-go.
a dick in the second one.
Oh,
Yeah.
it turns out both Saturday the 14th and My Bloody Valentine were both filmed in 1981.
Okay.
Oh,
But
okay.
I was gonna say I give the edge to '09 because of Tom Atkins. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was fantastic seeing him in there.
Yeah, it was. He's a very underrated actor.
Yeah, and that
Oh.
kill was so great.
Yeah.
Wait,
Uh,
he was in the second one, was it? See, I haven't
Mhm.
seen that one since it first came out.
Yeah, it's on
and
Tubi.
Okay, it's on Tubi. All right, I didn't get a chance to watch it. The first one. All right, sorry, I was a little distracted. The first one was, it was like a great 1981 slasher if you didn't want to know anything about any of the characters and you just wanted to watch people die for reasons. That was the first one, and the ending of it was, I'm not going to say like exactly what it was right now because our discussion will inevitably devolve into that, evolve into that. But it was funny. Like the end was funny. There was some suspenseful. I mean, you knew who was going to die in this because, well, I would say usually by character development you can tell, but nobody was developed in this. There was no character development whatsoever. These were the epitome of one-dimensional just cutouts
oh,
for
they
characters.
really were. I mean, even like the main guy, it's like, wait,
Yeah.
is this the guy we're supposed to be following? Is he the hero? Like the way that they did it, like I don't know, it kind of.
It could have gone between the sheriff and the actual main guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was like, and the sheriff you had you got some backstory with him. You know, when he was with the mayor, I think it was in the truck. Was it the mayor? I think it was them too.
Yeah, I think it
Mhm.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
The mayor and him. Yep.
Yeah, they kept finding the hearts and
Yeah.
and like this. Okay, so
Because they were there for the original
yeah.
massacre.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, So the first logical thing to do is, okay, so we check on Harry Warden. We call, and it took them a while to do it, and they're trying to cover it up, and I'm like, oh, if this isn't allegorically fucking fit for right now. But that notwithstanding, it was just like that was the only bit of backstory, and then the rest of it was just like, well, here's a one-off line, but you've got to pay attention to it, or you won't know the connection. Like with the I can't think of the girl's name, and the two main guys. You know, they were kind
Sarah.
of vying.
TJ and Axel.
TJ and Axel, yes, yeah, and how they were kind of, you know, you could see, well, you left, you know, TJ's the one that left, and Axel was the one that stayed, and she was dating, and it was like, oh man, this is so tropey. It really was. But what I don't remember much about the '09. Like, I didn't even remember Tom Atkins was in it.
The '09 is pretty much beat for beat as far as like the person leaves and he comes back and then kind of like is still in love with the girl like that he left.
It's the time span's bigger. It's like 10 years.
Yeah.
And basically, and Harry, he woke up out of a coma, and like he just started his rampage again, like it never ended.
Okay.
Yeah. The lore is a little bit different in the remake. In the remake, he's not in a mental institution. He's just in a coma, and the sheriff and everybody believe that he killed everybody, that it wasn't the like mind blowing up, that he was just crazy and he killed everybody, which, you know, I actually like that theory better.
Because what happened with Jensen's character, because like he was the last one. He was going to be the final victim basically of that day, and that's when he got saved in time. But it messed with his head so much because all the other stuff that they were blaming him too for being the survivor, because that's happened before too, where the survivor becomes the victim, and they put like everything on him. So like that's why he leaves town. But he was having more mental breakdowns, which you find out later.
Here's another thing that I didn't like about the '09. So one of the other things, beyond a lot of the stupidity stuff, like the female cop going down in the '09 version into the I guess what's their basement laundry room, and seeing a bloody dryer going, and then like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with this. Let me open up, and then scream when you see a bloody body in there where there's blood all over the place. That kind of stupidity just drove me freaking nuts.
That was a callback to the first one too.
Yeah, but I mean the scream like that, like you know, like I'm pretty sure. Yeah, get out of here. That was just horrendously bad. And then the whole thing where they said, "Oh, we killed Harry and we buried him." Okay, well, if you killed him and buried him, how would he have just been in a coma? Like, it made no sense. There were so many things in that '09 that just made literally no sense for its own story plot that it was trying to spin.
From what I understand, it's the old guys. I feel like there was a scene that was cut. I'm going to say it right off the bat, because it looks like the retired sheriff Tom Atkins and the other dude, they had killed him. That's why they went drinking in that bar.
All right, so let me explain something. So in the remake, what you're seeing at first is their kids party in the mine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the minor Harry Warden, it goes after Jensen Ackles' character,
and he's the one that came out of the coma.
Yes.
And started massacring everybody 10 years ago.
10 years later. In the remake, I think it was 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in a coma for 5 years.
Yeah, because he's still sheriff at that point, Tom Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so after he wakes up from the coma, then they find him and
chase him down and kill him and bury him.
Yeah,
right.
And I feel like they should have, like, either when they talked about we buried him, they should have done like a flashback scene of that to show us.
Yeah, it feels like it's either bad editing or they cut out a scene, because they should have made reference somewhere that the cop was responsible for it. That's why they're staying at the bar. They keep drinking and they know what's going on. So when he comes into town, that's why they're very suspicious of him because they know what they had done to the original Harry, so that it couldn't have been him.
Yes.
That's why the one was
Yes.
really getting super pissed at him.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
it was there. It's just, I think maybe just you weren't too focused on it because, like, again, there were parts of the first movie I couldn't focus on either because it's just something was bothering me about them. The cast or the way that they were presenting the story.
Yeah, I agree. The original could have been better as well because I feel like the original, first of all, it was I feel like it was too long, and
Yeah,
it
it was.
I actually prefer the original over the. I like both of them, but I prefer the original. And I thought the original's length was fine, but
I
I
thought they
still
could have
think
cut
they
it
go
down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's why that's what I do like about the 09, that it's shorter. I still think both of them, they work well together, but I'm leaning more towards the newer one just because I think it's shot better. I think the kills are great. Just everything looks better too. And I do like that they explored more of the Tom character and kind of how fucked up he got because of all of that he survived and what he went through. But
I like it as well.
Yeah, I was more invested in the characters from the 09 one. That first one, like you said, like Etep was saying, that 80s one, it's like, okay, I just want to see how this person's going to die now, and that person's going to die now. Although I did like that Sarah character, she was gorgeous, but other than that, I didn't care about anyone else in the movie.
Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is the way I feel about it. I think if they were going to make 09 as kind of be like almost like a standalone sequel to the first one, I think it could have worked a lot better. Trying to rewrite the story and try to create it like it's its own standalone movie and doesn't need the first one, I think that's the huge mistake that this one made. Because so much of it, especially in the beginning, is so disjointed and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Right. That it just takes me right out of it.
Yeah, you'd have to literally pause the damn movie and try to read the articles to see what's really going on because it zips through so quickly. And like
that and the 3D element, like they could have just not had that because it's blatantly obvious that they were trying to do 3D.
Oh yeah, a couple of times, but you know what? I didn't mind it, to be honest. I mean, there's no 3D glasses, but as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, it's still okay. It still works.
OBG70, thank you for stopping by.
I was going to say, I remember the 09 version, the 3D being very wonky. Like the sequences were just like, it was kind of pointless. Like they just shouldn't have had it in the first place. But yeah, so I completely agree that was one of the things that stuck out to me was how bad.
Because some of the kills I feel suffer because of the 3D, to me, at least.
I sorry.
I was just gonna say that I agree with Vinny on the kills in the 09 version. I love how it actually feels like a slasher, and I think that's because of the writer. The writer is the guy who wrote Jason X. So
okay.
Yeah, you can kind of feel that Friday the 13th element in there.
Yeah, he was more menacing for sure.
Yeah. Yes, there's more of the minor in the remake than there is in the original. That's why I was like saying that I wish I could like edit these two movies and put the best parts of each into one.
Yes. That would be perfect.
Have like the whole setup, like they're trying to have a party and stuff. Like have that whole setup from the original, and then have like the backstory and like kind of character development in the second one, and then just run with that.
Yes, I agree.
There's definitely something there. But I'll say one thing though for that 09 one. I'm looking at the budget. It cost $14 million. And they pulled in $100 million.
Holy that one made that much?
The 2009, the remake?
Yeah.
Well, probably because Jensen Ackles in 2009, so that was at what, peak Supernatural?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, huge Supernatural. Like there's a massive cult following of that. So
and they shot good chunks of it there. Come on. Some of it felt like I was waiting for him to go, son of a bitch, Sammy.
I
know,
mean,
right?
he even looked like Dean in
He does.
like he just always looks like Dean.
The hoodie
Well-
with the pea coat and everything.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, and there's even one point his hair is exactly like it. I'm like, he got off
Mhm.
one set, went to the other set, and you know what? I don't mind it because I like him. I think he's a great
Yeah.
actor.
I agree.
So it works. But like I said, I think they did do a good job, and just how they fleshed it all out. I mean, because again, I gave a shit about the characters in that remake.
Hmm.
The original,
Yeah.
and see that for me, like if you're missing that, it's going to be tough. But you got to remember this too. That oh my god, yeah, I knew that the original didn't really pull in much at the box office.
Mhm.
It did even worse than I thought. It only pulled in 5.7 million.
And what was the budget?
No, they're not saying. Oh wait, 2.3.
Oh, that's not.
That's
Wow.
horrible.
Now,
So-
see, I don't think that's enough love because I think it's better than. I think it's better than that. It's a better movie than
Yeah.
that.
I agree. But it seemed like the doing a remake or an updated version was definitely needed.
I just wish
Again.
we got a sequel to the original.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
Yeah.
that. Draven had posted in the Real Horror Chat a link for what is his channel called? Joe Blow.
Something like that.
Oh man,
I'll look at my history here.
yeah, I'm gonna get into it too.
Well,
Yeah, he does like WTF happened
Mhm.
to and
You're
then
talking Joe Blow horror originals.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
I was just watching their Nightmare on Elm Street video while I was eating dinner.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out to his channel, and Draven had posted that in our chat because he talks about whatever happened to the sequel, and it was going to be a faithful sequel to the original because if you
Mhm.
remember at the end of the original, they left it open that you
Yep.
could have a sequel, like if the original did well. And
Yeah.
Joe Blow talks about like all the ideas that they were going to have and the original ideas for the original movie as well, like how it's one of like the few slasher movies that are focused on older, like 20 somethings instead of teens.
Yeah, basically it focuses on adults instead
Yeah.
of teens.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
was one of the reasons why it got stuck in development hell and never made, is because the studio was pushing for them to basically, because they wanted to stick with the teen tropes and stuff.
Yeah.
And the creator was like, no, I don't want to do that. And
Yeah, and yeah, if like everybody who's watching and like you guys up here on the panel too, you guys should watch that Joe Blow a review, like not review, but the WTF happened to the My Bloody Valentine sequel because or part 2 I think it's called, because it's really good. He has like there were a lot of great ideas that they were
Yeah.
going to go with.
So
It
why
would've-
don't they implement it into a sequel for even the 09 one? Because I mean,
I
you can
know.
still do that.
Mhm.
I think that one of the reasons is because they didn't want to go with adults again because the original is more focused on like adults and stuff. It's not. I mean, they seem younger, like they're not in their 40s or whatever, but
Mhm.
they're older. I would say maybe like what, early 30s.
Something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around
the
there.
sequel is going to be Return of the Minor, My Bloody Valentine 2. And there was another title too that I seen when I was doing a search as well. My Bloody Valentine 2 Death Till Death Do Us Part was another one that I heard as like a sequel name. But yeah.
See, I think like I don't know what they would do. Like where was I can't remember where the 09 one was set. Was that one set in more like current times or was it set back
Yeah.
in like
Current
Yeah,
times.
was
It was current
Yeah.
times. Well,
okay?
closer to it.
I could, like I said, I can't remember. What I would do is I would just, I don't know. I mean, if I was going to do a sequel to this, it's normally I'm not an advocate of like, hey, let's skip over stuff in the continuity, and it's going to make me sound a little bit hypocritical because I didn't like that they did that with Halloween. But with this one, I mean, if I was going to do a sequel to this, and I'd kind of handle it the way I'm writing my Friday the 13th movie, is I would just write it ambiguously in the 80s. Because you think about it, the original took place in 1981, and I think it was supposed to be like time period accurate. You know, it was supposed to be set in that time. So you've got, you know, an entire decade to play with, and you don't even have to say what year it is, really. I mean, you like I said, you can narrow it down to a date, but you can, you know, keep it ambiguous to the passage of time and still tell a coherent story. That's just my thoughts on it anyway.
Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong either, because like even like what I did with Through the Woods, like the first issue when I originally wrote that, I kind of left it in a point where it could be like mid to late 90s, or it could be present day. Because if you look at it, like there is like no reference to cell phones and shit like that. I kind of wanted to have it feel almost timeless in that regard. Like we kind of know the general time frame. It doesn't have to necessarily be the present day, but it could be. Sorry, but because I think you're right, Etap. There is something that almost not dumbing things down, but taking technology out of it just for a bit. You could tell more of a proper kind of, you know, slasher type story or horror story.
Well, you know what? Here's where I think it makes a lot of sense, Etep. And going back to the 80s, if they were going to do a sequel and then base it off the first one, could make a lot of sense for the 2009 version, because now you can actually put stuff in there that make the 2009 seem like it makes a little bit more sense. You could retroactively make that movie better and fall in timeline with the first one.
You can, that's it. If you can retcon something and actually improve it, then that's fine. But it's the useless retcons that like retcon stuff that doesn't need to be done. Then, you know, then you come in with the problem. And yeah, Vinny, what you said about not having cell phones in the story, that's exactly what I did. It's like, no, this is in the 80s. There's no cell phones. If you wanted to use a phone, there's pay phones. And there's CBs, you know. That's what kind of radio technology we had. You know, I mean, there's very rarely you had a bag phone. You know, one of those monstrosities, but no, they're not going to be prevalent in the story because that detracts from the storytelling.
I just want to answer Frankie Knows right here. He says, hey, is there a holiday that doesn't have a horror movie? I don't believe so.
Yeah, there is. Veterans Day.
Hanukkah and Passover, they have holidays or have horror movies?
I'm pretty sure they do, because I know Easter does.
If you see Passion of the Christ,
does.
Well, that's not a horror movie.
Passion of the Christ is gory as shit.
Have you seen Schindler's List?
Wait a minute. What about Labor Day? I don't think Labor Day has one either.
Well,
what about
there's an Arbor Day horror movie.
There's a Groundhog Day one.
I don't think Veterans Day is a holiday.
That's just an observed federal holiday.
It's a holiday. Wait, Frankie, do you mean like a church observed day, like Christmas, Easter, one of those type days, or do you mean just like a federal day off?
Yeah, because technically, like Valentine's Day, I mean, it's still a regular day. There's nothing special about it other than people getting drunk and fucking more.
I think the Catholics go to church for some like.
Same with St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
Is there a St. Patty's?
Well, there's Leprechaun, the horror Leprechaun.
Yep. Oh, that is St. Patty's Day, though?
He's talking about any get-together holidays.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
I'm pretty sure that they have one for 4th of July. I'm pretty sure there's something out there. But, yeah, Labor Day and Veterans Day, technically, whether you consider them like main holidays or not, they're still listed as holidays because they're up on the calendars.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Does anybody else remember Mad Magazine doing the spoof of the Arbor Day horror movie? I still I still have that Mad magazine. I found them all at my mom's house. I'm gonna bring them home, and I'm gonna do a video on some old Mad magazine issues because they had some great spoofs in those.
Oh, dude, I used to love them, but yeah, I never got everything.
But we were just talking about obscure holidays, and I just thought of
Yeah.
that Arbor Day. I've never seen the movie. I read the spoof in the Mad magazine though.
You know what? I will say, like in connection with this movie, though, both Trina and I both did reviews on the NECA figure, which was, while not horrible, did have a few flaws. I wish NECA would actually go back to the drawing board on this one and actually make an ultimate figure.
Yes.
You know, they could technically do both movies at this point, and they could make 2 My Bloody Valentine's Day figures.
Oh,
But I think that one definitely needs to be revisited.
Yeah, definitely. They could do an ultimate figure, and it wouldn't even matter which version they do because he's got this basically the same accessories in both movies, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. No, because that's the thing too with that figure. I forgot that. Yeah, that was like the 8-inch scale. So that's why I had the real clothes and everything.
So this I'm hearing. I looked it up because I was curious. So Good Friday doesn't have one. Apparently there isn't an Easter one either.
Yes, there is. There's Beaster Bunny. There's Easter Bunny Massacre.
This was from 2011, so
okay, yeah. There's definitely
and there
Easter.
isn't an Earth Day horror movie.
Oh, dude, Earth Day.
Earth Day horror movies on Twitter every single day. Where you at?
Trina's like,
that's not wrong. In the sand.
Trina's yelling, "You're wrong! Easter has one."
It's an old article, but yeah.
It's an old article, but it checks out, sir.
There's Donnie Darko, if you want to consider that a bunny.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
It really is.
That movie. The sequel, not so much.
One of the best Tears for Fears songs in it.
Yes, it does.
Head over heels, like, come on.
Well, maybe we'll do that one at some point. Maybe around Easter.
So I'm just kind of curious here. Everybody that watched the original one, did you watch like the collected anniversary one where they had like extra scenes and everything in it?
No, I saw the one that's on HBO. I have no physical. I have like zero physical media.
See,
basically.
physical media is king. See, that's what
I know. I'm working on it,
and I always look for that every time I go out and look for these movies. I always look for the ones that are collector's editions or steel books with all kinds of extra footage in it. Matter of fact, I got a Psycho that's a steel book that's got all kinds of extras in it. I was like, oh wow, that actually explains a lot more of the intro to the story. And it gives you a little bit more perspective to some of these characters, you know? So, I mean, there isn't a whole lot in Psycho other than him killing that first girl and then dealing with the aftermath from everybody checking in on him. But it gives you a little bit more of why was she really on the run like that? It gives you all the backstory that you really didn't get in the original theatrical release of the movie. So, it's the same thing with My Bloody Valentine. There's a few extras in there that I was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't remember that in the original release that I seen. But I always got to look for those things with like the extended cuts.
Yeah, and then there's like the American Psycho, like they have the extended cut, which I saw like no difference. I think maybe there might have been a scene or two that's slightly extended, but that's it.
Frankie Nose says he looked up Hanukkah 2019. I guess that's a horror movie. That horror movie got a 3 out of 10 rating. Oy vey.
Oh shit. That's funny.
Yeah, I know Tommy. I know. I'm believe me, I'm working on the physical media collection. We used to have tons of DVDs, and then streaming became a thing, and I was like, oh cool, we don't need to keep all this shit anymore. And now I'm like, oh man, why do we get rid of all that?
I would suggest anybody that's looking to get back into collecting physical media, especially the way that they're destroying everything on a lot of these streaming services. Maybe sometimes you don't even realize they're doing it. Instead of just looking online and checking eBay and checking Amazon, I would definitely go out and try to find some physical stores that actually still have it. Like I always talk about FYE because I found some of the best, not only deals on some of these movies, but I found the best selection. sitting at FYE every single time. And that's matter of fact,
Yep.
that's where I found My Bloody Valentine. That's where I found a lot of these steel books that were actually exclusives to their store for like Jaws and Psycho and stuff like that. FYE is the bomb.
They have a used
Yeah.
section too, and a lot of that that section is like stuff is in pretty good condition too. So
And extremely hard to find anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was at my local FYE that I got the Nightmare on Elm Street collection.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, see, next time I go out, I want to look for a couple movies too. I just saw The Hunt the other day.
That's a great one.
Oh my God, that movie was so good. I'm like, yeah, if I see that in stores somewhere, I'll definitely buy it. But I know something like that was a short release. It was pulled from theaters because they were afraid.
Yeah.
It was like the left and the right. But oh my God, they show how insane the left is. And they proved the right correct.
I gotta watch it.
Oh my God, it was excellent. That's a Blumhouse movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I was really
which one?
surprised by it.
The Hunt.
With Betty.
Oh yeah, that was good. That movie was so good.
Oh, it was solid all the way around. And it's like, oh, I thought like they were gonna make fun of the other people in there and the Alex Jones type, and it's like, no, they proved them right.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because it wasn't supposed to be a thing that was like supposed to be against the right, and it kind of failed on them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, which was glorious. They deserve that slap in the mouth. But yeah, and I think it's a missed opportunity too, because that actress, holy shit, is she fantastic? I mean, I loved her in that wrestling show, but
Oh, Betty Gilpin.
oh my God, dude! Even her regular, normal kind of stance, just standing there, she looks like a superhero. I'm like, that would have been a perfect Captain Marvel / Miss Marvel.
I don't know why they did. Dude, I did a video, and I joke around about this. I did a video 3 years ago now, sorry, about the stand-in they had in the deleted scene for Avengers, The Age of Ultron. In the end of that movie, they showed Captain Marvel standing there when they were getting ready to train all the new Avengers. And this woman was like beautiful. She had like the stance, like the posture and everything. It's like she was a stunt woman. It's like, why did you not have her play that role? What are you doing?
Yeah, I pulled it up on a couple of streams, like kind of early on too. I'm like, oh my God, are these people brain dead? When Brie was first announced, I'm like, no, like I was like flipping out. I'm like, you guys are all retarded. What's wrong with you? And then we found out they did it on purpose. But just saying too, on a side note for that movie, yeah, they said like it didn't gross well over here because like they pull it from theaters so quickly. But overseas, it made like around 40-something million, like 42 million, somewhere around there. So it's like, okay. So you see over here that they purposely try to make a bomb, and then like overseas, they didn't even know who this actress was. They didn't know anything about this movie. Like, this is actually pretty good. I think that is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. They tried to tank this movie on purpose, and it still did okay.
I taking it back to some of the horror stuff real quick. One of the other things I know, a lot of us, have experienced the greatness that is Tubi, and I've been singing their praises to the rooftop for a while now, because there's nothing better than a free service that allows you to see all kinds of movies. Yes, you have to put up with the commercials, but you get to see all kinds of movies that you probably haven't seen in years. And one of them that I went back and watched that I haven't seen since I was a kid, and I was actually surprised how much better I felt that it was after seeing all these years, was Pumpkinhead.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. Oh my God, that movie's so good.
I
remember seeing it as a kid and thinking it was okay, but when I went back and rewatched it, I was like, damn, this is actually pretty damn good. I didn't realize that they made like something like 4 or 5 of them though.
Yep.
I think it was like 4.
Dude, wow. They got kind of rough after the first one, because they turned into like straight up sci-fi channel like quality. The one they had the Hatfields versus the McCoys and stuff like that. You remember that one, Tommy? I think it was like the third one.
Now, see, I missed that one. I remember seeing the second one, and then after that, I don't remember seeing any of the other ones. There was talks about doing another one, but instead they wound up doing a comic book series that had a 5-issue run. and it actually
Okay.
explained a little bit in depth what Pumpkinhead was, and as they call him a demon in there, they were saying
Yep.
he was a spirit of vengeance, and apparently there was other spirits that went along with him that could be something like the spirit of greed and so on and so on. But yeah, really interesting backstory stuff that would
I
build
liked
up
that
on
movie.
the lore. Yeah, I thought it was
Plus,
great.
Lance Henriksen is
Yep.
like the king of those kind of like B horror movies. He's great. He was in that and Hellraiser. He was in one of the Hellraiser movies too, the video game one, I think it was.
Nice.
Yep.
But yeah, to bring it back to like I want to talk about the 81 My Bloody Valentine. The the only person I actually felt bad for that died was the old lady in the laundromat. Was it Mabel? Was that her name?
Yeah.
Was that Mabel?
Yes, I agree.
I felt bad for Mabel. I'm like, man, Mabel was fucking cool. Like,
Mhm.
she was a sweet lady. I'm like, Mabel didn't deserve that shit. Like, what a dick. Like that. Like, even for a killer, that's a dick move. Like,
Right. You don't take out the sweetest person.
Dude,
I mean, you already hated the minor for that reason. You know, like that's why. Like other slashers, we kind of root for. For the minor, I'm like, no, I want to see him fail. I want to see him go down.
Right? Like this
Yep.
guy was just a douchebag.
Now, come on, there was a few scenes though, especially when the way they did it in the 2009, where every woman in it is apparently retarded. So why would the one? Why would they go towards the window?
I know, right?
Why would they go towards the window? I mean, you had to have seen that coming a mile away. That he's going to come right out and pull you out the window. Like it was just so dumb.
The one where she's holding the desk and then she's like, "Get the keys out of the desk."
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude.
dude, that
Let's
little
go out the
one,
window.
that weird
That's-
one. She wasn't a midget. She had some other kind of problem with the little dog. Like I was so happy when he took her out, and then she's like lifted up off the ground.
That's like Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter. The twins, the really, really beautiful brunette twins, the one of them gets run through outside in the rain when she goes to leave on her bike when the other one's sleeping with Crispin Glover. And then the one that slept with Crispin Glover gets yeeted out the fucking window. She looks out the window for her sister's bike, and then she goes away from the window and she comes back and Jason says, "Surprise, bitch," and busts through the glass and just throws her out the window. She lands on top of the Vista Cruiser and bounces off and hits the ground and boom, she's dead.
Real quick, Ita, we got to pay respect to this.
Manliness and motivation. Manliness and motivation has entered the chat.
I know. I was just thinking that.
It's a Kevin Spacey joke. He's gonna show up, dude. So we had a Christine moment at our elementary school. Some dumbass parent dropped his kid off and then wasn't paying attention and backed into him and pinned him between two cars and like broke a couple of his ribs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I drove by the public school and there's like 5-6 cop cars the other day, like 2 ambulances. I'm like, the kids are just getting to school. What the hell happened? Like we don't have stuff like that happen. Like where I live, like we don't. And I find out today what happened, and it's like, oh my God. So now they got a state police officer and a county sheriff there directing traffic through the parking lot. And I'm just looking. This is just nothing like me. We looking down our nose at the public school, just shaking our heads, going like, so.
As it should.
I'm just glad the kid is gonna recover. He's gonna be fine.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a parent not paying attention on their phone driving in a parking lot full of kids during drop off time in the morning.
I hope they get charged big time.
See, when I was a kid, you got hit by a car. It wasn't that big of a deal. I got hit by a speeding Camaro one time, head first. Did a 360 in the air and landed on my back. I was 6 years old. I got back up. Luckily, I got a concrete head, so it didn't do any damage. The other time is when I was probably about 15 or so. So we used to ride around on our Buffy's or Huffy's BMX bikes all the time, and I used to wear my own custom Jason mask. So if you remember, like back in like the 80s and everything, when you used to get one of those cheap masks out of a store, they were like hardcore plastic. So
Yeah.
I drilled it all out, made it look like a Jason mask. So if I ever accidentally took a dive off my bike, this thing would protect my face, because we used to ride like complete idiots up and down the streets in Trenton. So one time we'd put our bikes off the side and we were standing on the side street when a friend of ours came around the corner real fast, and he was like, "You better get out of my way," and I didn't move. So I wound up on the hood of his car, and then he hit the brakes like, "Oh my God," and I went flying off the hood. Landed on my back. Now, this is before I injured myself, so it didn't bother me. And so I did the Jason sit-up, scared the living dog shit out of him.
Oh my God.
Oh
That's
my
funny.
God. So you just had your face protected, not your head or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, well, my head's going to be fine. Concrete. Don't worry about it.
Oh, man, and you're still hard-headed.
Exactly. And it's never going to change. I've been the same way forever.
That's awesome. Oh, you know what's another good movie? It was surprisingly good. Ready or Not.
Oh, yeah, that was
that is
great.
a good one. Is that the hide and seek one or whatever?
Yep.
The black goo or whatever.
I don't think
Yeah,
I've seen that one.
It was basically it was like one of the board game companies, like that family. They have like a bunch of different games and shit. And one of the sons marries this chick, and on the wedding night they have like this game night, and basically you have to play, and it doesn't always happen. Like you could play a regular game, it could be something, but if this card, it gets put into a box, and it's like it mixes everything up, and if you have to play Ready or Not, as this hide and seek game, then it's like it's to the death, and like the person who's hiding has to make it until dawn. It's like it's crazy. There's like a ritual thing, and it's really nuts. But they did a great job, and it's, I believe, the niece of Hugo Weaving, Samara Weaving. She's the star of it.
Okay.
And one of the dudes from Shazam is in it. What's his name? Adam Brody.
Seth from the OC.
Yep.
Dude, they did a great job with that film. That's something.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I kind of saw it with a buddy on a fluke. And
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you'll like it.
All
I
right.
recommend that one for sure.
Yeah, you know what I think? And another thing with My Bloody Valentine. See, I enjoyed this movie when I was a kid. But I think if there was another way to bring it back, like you're talking about something that would be an in-between movie, ETEP, I think would be great.
Yeah.
But there's a way that they can actually bring it into modern times and make it a lot of fun. All they have to do is kind of do like what they've done in some of these other movies, where I almost have a kind of a crossover where you got the Book of the Dead or something bringing him back.
That'd be cool.
Then he's going to be OP. He's going to be overpowered for sure. And then you're going to get a lot more interesting kills. I mean, granted, a future movie we're going to be talking about at some point, I'm sure, is going to be Hatchet.
Yep.
Maybe not as ridiculously OP as some of the kills in that, but at least, a little bit more extraordinary, which make him a little bit more intimidating, I think.
Yeah, that's true, because that's one of the things about the Miner is that he's not supernatural. He's just like someone takes up the mantle of the Miner.
Yeah.
So it's a different person. Like
right.
It could be a different person each movie.
And I think that's part of the reason why I never found Ghostface to be all that frightening, because here it is, just a regular person. Oh, bleeding out here, man. I'm sorry. I'm not overly intimidated by that. Like somebody that I can like square foot kick right in the chest and send them out a window. I don't think I'm too worried about them as a killer.
No, it's that they're just fun movies.
Yeah.
I love them.
I can't wait to see the new one.
Me too.
Wait. Which one?
Scream.
Was the last one any good?
I haven't.
Yeah, I
seen
enjoyed
it.
it.
It's the third one.
Okay.
Everybody's criticism with the new one was, oh, they made fun of us because we hated Star Wars. And I was like, but it makes sense within the context of Scream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's meta. Like it
It
makes sense.
very much is.
If
very
it was
much
any other movie, I would have complete issues with it. But
Yeah.
it's
So
not.
wait. Are you talking about the hypocrites? Hold on, let me pull this out just in case, because Zach, no affiliation with Gamer Snyder, as far as I'm concerned, would agree that you mean the hypocrites who put out like 20-minute videos talking about how cancel culture and Hollywood hates you, and then in the same breath will run out and buy the Harry Potter game and stream it like crazy. You mean those type of hypocrites?
You know what, Zach?
The Harry Potter game looks like shit anyway.
Nice shot, Zach. Nice shot.
Hashtag ivermectin. Oh, you can't say that word. Horse pace for life. Jesus, this is crazy.
All right, so there's.
Sorry.
Do you guys have any? Oh my God, Etep. Is there any more?
Jeez.
Hello, piss babies.
Oh my God.
Good Lord.
Jeez.
So, does anybody have anything else to say on My Bloody Valentine?
And both enjoyable movies. They
Yeah.
have some flaws, but I think both of them are still really good. And if you do watch them, you're better off watching them back to back.
Yeah. I watched the
Yeah.
original first and then watched the
Yep.
Yeah.
the new one. The new one, the kill that I liked is the naked chick.
That was hilarious.
Oh, the kill that I like in the new one is the trucker dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
Tom
yeah,
Atkins, that kill was great.
Yeah, that felt.
I'm gonna
that
have
was
to.
like,
I'm still gonna have to watch the new one now. I'm gonna have to
That-
watch
that
it
was-
again.
Yeah, you should.
There was I was actually going to rewatch it before the stream, but I got tied up with a bunch of other stuff. Like trying to unlock my Twitter account. But
I had that happen to me just now.
you see, I had somebody else. Steve was telling me the same thing. It just happened to him after I'd posted the
So I had to
Rorschach
go through the
journal
whole
about it.
authentication bullshit again.
Yeah, it's
It's-
just
it-
nuts.
yeah,
Nuts with
it's-
these people.
It-
But
it's
I was
just
going to
Twitter.
rewatch it because there was actually a few more things in the 2009 that actually really irked me, and all the things that happened today and past couple days with some other idiots that I dare not mention because they might become unglued again. I just literally forgot some of the other points I was going to make about things that they really just screwed the pooch on in that 2009, and it really took me out of the movie because it was just so unbelievable in the circumstances of the movie and the way everything was set up that it made no damn sense to me, and it just drove me completely bananas. And I mean, you could take the really bad camera shooting and everything that they did in the 1981 movie, but at least everything for the most part in that movie made sense in the context of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'll
Except for me.
fill in for you about some problems with the new movie. Is they switched character. They switched so Axel in the new movie
Mm-hmm.
is the minor,
Yep.
and
No, Axel in the old movie is the minor.
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. And then in the
Yeah.
new movie, he's the sheriff. Why make that?
No,
Why
the
do
new,
that?
The new movie is Thomas.
Thomas is the killer in
Is
the new
TJ.
movie,
Yeah.
and Axel is the sheriff.
Yes.
Why? Why do that?
They made the douchebag who's cheating on his wife the fucking not killer.
Yeah, that's stupid. I
That's
don't know
his-
why they did that.
It was probably his wife's fault in the first place. She didn't make the sandwich right, and he was like, "Fuck this! Look, this chick makes the sandwich better." I'm just kidding.
Hold on a second. Unfortunately, Ruin Johnson has to leave us because he has another bad Star Wars movie that he's got to start writing a script to. So
I've got my trilogy, you pith babies. I can't wait to make The Last Jedi 2 and 3, so geeks and gamers can come drool all over it with holes in the bottom of popcorn buckets for Jeremy and Ryan to enjoy each other's company with while they watch
Dog.
Kylo Ren in his bare-chested glory.
That's great.
Humble gurgle.
There we go. But yeah, I'm Tepel Queen. I'm going over right now to my channel to do Holy Shit News with CJP, Soldier Spirit, and our guest tonight, the Rookie Critic from the Phantom Collective. We'll have the member stream right after, and then I'll be over on Draven's channel. And I've got about 6-7 more videos over with my editor extraordinaire, Good Stuff Comic Skater, that'll be dropping between now and Sunday, and I'm still recording stuff. So thank you. This was fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
I'll see you in a bit then.
I'll see you in a
yeah.
little bit. See you later, man, babies. Ruined out.
funny.
So yeah, there was some changes in the new movie that just just didn't make sense. Like, yeah, the whole Tom and Axel thing. Like, I don't understand why they did that.
I just don't understand why they didn't lean more into Valentine's Day, because oh my god, it's right there in the title.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted Axel to die. I mean, especially he's cheating on his wife like that.
Yeah, I did too.
Garbage.
I was thinking for a while he was actually the bad guy. He was the new miner,
because he accidentally gets that girl pregnant, and I thought that was why he was gonna kill everybody. So he didn't have to worry about it.
Like, they did a good job to try to throw you off, but I mean, I don't know. I felt like I knew from the moment he came into town who the killer was. But yeah, I mean, they try to give you those kind of red herrings here and there. But again, it's the way that they kind of revealed it. And then, but I do like he was tripping balls. He's like, he's right there. He's right there. And they're looking around like, what is he talking about? You know, like, you see how much his mind is broken. And I do like that he was away for all that time because he was in a psych ward.
Yep.
You know, he couldn't let go of it. So.
Well,
he
had all his friends murdered in front of him, or most of them murdered in front of him.
Which I mean, again, they set it up great for a sequel. I mean, he's out free, and like he could just be like, yeah, Valentine's Day. I mean, I want to kill them all. I want to kill every stupid fucking. Like, he could continue that shit.
Yeah,
you could write a good story for it,
especially in the era of remakes and all this shit. Like, just make a sequel of it.
Well, especially how well that it had done. $100 million in 2009. That was before we started seeing like these major, or around that time we started seeing those major Marvel movies and stuff. Like, started busting some big numbers.
Yep. They should get A24 to do it.
So I think in the 2009 version, I think it would have been better if they well, actually, I should say in the original version, I think it would have been better if they had it as Harry Warden was a psychopath like they did in the 2009 version, where instead of like he just survived and then he had to live off his friends and that made him crazy. I think that the 2009 did it better in the fact that he was already a nutcase. Yeah, I think that is a little more believable. And
I agree. Instead of just like human mad cow.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like in as I said, the whole Tom and Axel thing, like switching them up, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't really understand why.
And then Axel in the first one kills everybody because he saw his father get killed by
I hated that.
Yeah.
I kind of hated that in that original as well, because it felt like it was so out of nowhere. When they unmasked him, like, who's this? And then they had to do like that flashback thing. I'm like, oh my god, that was stupid. You know, I mean, it worked.
I like the first one so much just because it's like it's your quintessential 80s horror, like it's to the tropes and everything. It's great.
See, with the 2009 one, why it worked better with that happening to Tom is because, again, that was all of his friends. You know, he was the next victim. It made more sense there than just to stick it, like tag it in the end of the 81 movie out of nowhere. Like, that bothered me a lot. It's like, who? Like, what the? Like, I lost for one. I'm like, who's this guy supposed to be? Like, I really, I don't know. It just, it threw me off. And then his maniacal laughing as he was running away with his one arm.
Speaking of that, Frankie, they do have a thing with like a Cupid, like killing people and stuff in a new horror Valentine's Day movie.
I didn't kill my wife. It was the one-armed man. I don't care.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Pulp Noir says 80s horror does the job better. It's so true. They just can't beat it.
Well, if it wasn't for all the things that they were doing in the 80s with horror, I mean, technically there's been a lot of discussion who created the first horror. From what I understand, the first like actual slasher was created in like a 75 or something, or no, 65 or something like that. I forget exactly what year the movie came out, but it wasn't supposed to be Alfred Hitchcock because he didn't really do slashers. He did more suspense type movies.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
the 80s was really the decade of when horror movies were actually on the rise, and it started with the end of the 70s with
Halloween.
and then continued with Friday the 13th, and then all the other movies that added on to it, and Nightmare on Elm Street, and everything else. Like, and that really was the rise to those horror movies. And it wasn't for the stuff that we got in the 80s with them experimenting with what they could get away with, what is going to look pretty good, and especially with the practical effects that they were using at the time. We would never have some of these more modern horror takes that are done a little bit better in some aspects, but I think they lack some of the I don't know how to put it other than the way the story is done. It's just it's a bit campy, but it does make sense in the way that the stories usually flow for a horror movie. Because if a horror movie takes itself too seriously, it kind of takes you out of it, because you're eliminating the fun aspect of it. Because the horror movie should be a little bit fun. If it's nothing but jumps and scares and it's just blood and gore, it does get kind of boring. It's like, well, why do I want to watch this?
Yeah, it turns into like torture porn type shit. It's like it's pointless. It's like the Hostel movies. Like, those movies are pointless. But yeah, you need something that has a good story in it, and again, the fun element. That's what they usually have, like those sex scenes, and you see the chick running with her titties out and all that stuff, because it brings the funniness to it as well. I'm sorry, just seeing people run around naked is funny. So and you're having like the slasher is, for whatever reason, like, why he's going after them. It, like, you want to see it, and you're rooting for the slasher at the same time. It's like, yeah, they shouldn't have been doing what they were doing where they did it, and if they hadn't done what they did, they'd still be alive today.
Exactly.
It's hilarious though, but I gotta agree with you on that too, because it's the late 70s. It was Halloween that kind of started all that stuff, and it was the same deal. It's, the babysitters, they weren't paying attention the proper way they should have, and Michael went on a killing spree. But the slasher thing, it did come though from Psycho, from the one scene. That's where they really got it, even though he didn't really make slasher movies. It was the bathroom scene, the shower scene. Like, that's where it all came from. But you're right, they didn't really start making those type of movies like properly until the late 70s going into the 80s. And then it was just like, okay, we have our kind of unstoppable killer. We'll put it in a way where he'll return. And yes, we'll do some kind of funny scenario or some kind of twisted scenario where teenagers or late teens are usually the ones who get it. Because again, at that point, it's like, who are the troublemakers? Who are the ones that annoy you the most kind of around the neighborhood? It's teenagers. You kind of want to see them suffer, because of the stupid shit that they do.
Well, I think it's more about like the audience that's tuning in. So
yeah, bro. No, I'm kidding. No, you're right. They're the ones who watch it, but they're also the ones who cause most trouble. So that's why it works on both ends, and everyone wants to see that happen.
Yeah, and like it. So the target audience for horror is both. It's basically like what, 25 to 35. I think that's the age group, and or maybe even younger.
No, younger. It's usually about like 17 to like maybe 35, somewhere around there.
Okay, so it's targeted to a younger audience. So if you've got teens on screen, you've got like. And then the horrible things are happening to them, like some creep is creeping around school or something like that. They can relate to that because, like they know what it's like to be on school grounds.
Wait a minute, are we talking about a horror movie? Or are we talking about a James Gunn movie?
I was about to say that that's why James Gunn and Kevin Spacey. It's for an audience that's for like those guys. It's like from teenagers up until about their age when they were victimized.
Oh my God!
Oy. Sorry, we went manliness and motivation on you. Oh my God, we'll behave.
You know what though? I mean, there still is a lot of fun aspects, and like I mentioned earlier, like with the Hatchet movies, at some point, I'm sure we're going to be talking about them. There was a lot of fun aspects in that movie too, where there was a lot of gore in that movie, but there was a lot of comedy added into it as well. And I think some of these people that are doing some of these horror movies, like Jigsaw, I could never get into those Jigsaw movies because it was just all like gore, and it was like there was nothing fun to me about watching that movie. And I think that's why certain characters like Freddy Krueger had taken off so well, because he brought a little bit of that comedy aspect into the movie. Because you didn't see it much with Michael Myers. You did see it ever so slightly with Jason in the Friday the 13th movies, but you didn't see it until much later on, really, as far as the killer himself. But I think Freddy was the first one that actually made it prominent that, the killer can have a bit of a macabre sense of humor as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually don't mind the Saw movies. The thing that I like about the Saw movies isn't the gore; it's the how interconnected each movie is, and how there's little hints in each movie that kind of show you things that happened in the previous movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, I seen one of them. I guess apparently, I guess spoiler alert, that the killer doesn't make it in one of the movies, but yet they continued the sequels, and then they connected of how
this whole thing set up to where if he was to pass away, people would enact the stuff for him.
Right. So I mean, I seen it was on TV or something. That's why, because I never really seen all of them. I only seen pieces here and there.
And he doesn't kill just to kill; he kills to teach a lesson.
Yeah, which I could I could get behind that somewhat, but again, I haven't really seen them for that same reason. It's just I don't want to just see people kind of getting tortured. But if it has more of a story, it makes more sense. And that's why I'll give him some respect on that. But to go back onto the point of the characters, the main characters. The main slasher himself. I agree. Jason, he started. You could see some of the kills that he did. He kind of enjoyed it, or he'll stop, and you kind of see he's proud of his work. Freddy, for as horrendous of a character that he truly is, we still root for him because he's hilarious. Because Robert Englund brought that character so much personality. I mean, just how he was toying with them, it's horrific in every possible way what he does to his victims, but we're still kind of Freddy. And it's in life, he was the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to get an audience to root for that type of a character, that takes a lot, And
then also the fact that you can't kill him in the dreams and stuff. He's unstoppable. So no, I don't necessarily root for Freddy in those, but it's just interesting to see it. Well, how the hell are they going to stop?
Well, he's fun to watch.
He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly, when you're watching, you're oh yeah, how are they going to take him out? But as he's doing it, you're oh shit, that was great. They get the other one. You have those moments in your head for sure. Because if we didn't, he wouldn't be as popular as he became. Because he's a he's a James Gunn. He's a Kevin Spacey. We wouldn't be rooting for him, and that movie wouldn't have lasted as long as the franchise wouldn't have lasted as long as it has.
That's why the remake didn't work, because they went too far into that aspect.
Right.
Well, no, I think everybody's wrong on that. The remake was great.
Well, time out, because there's stuff I really did enjoy about the remake, and there's things I can't stand about it, and one of them is this how he portrayed him. Because yes, they went super creepy with it, but again, the story was still there. For what he was in the original movies and what he did in the remake, there's no difference there. It's just how it's been done. They made him look like a true burn victim one, which is, if you can't stand looking at the main character at all, you got a major problem right there. Because when he's on
screen, I had no problem looking at him.
See, and a lot of people I talked to had the opposite. Me personally, when I was a kid, I seen a burn victim when I was really small that looked exactly like that. And I was it's one of those traumatizing moments. I don't need to see that with the face that's pulled.
It wasn't Robert Englund, and I think the thing is my issue.
Well, he could barely speak.
I think that's what it is too.
His face is pulled. That's what bothered me. Robert Englund, every time he delivered a line, it was ha ha. It was more of that in your face. It was clear. You could hear what he's saying, even when he's kind of being over the top. But he had so much personality. This one, he didn't. In the end, they started to do that with the jump scare at the end. It's okay, but it still doesn't really work because it felt like it was out of the blue. But I think everything else, it was shot great. The story itself was good. The special effects were great. But yeah, I think they failed. And again, it's not because of the actor, because the actor's great. He did an
Oh, yeah,
awesome
he's
job
a
as
good actor.
Rorschach.
Mm-hmm.
I think they missed the mark with the character design and kind of losing that comedy bit. I think that remake it should have still had Robert Englund. If it did, it would have been a way better movie.
I personally couldn't stand that remake at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
I
you
tried
never
wa-
like
I tried-
remakes.
No, I don't. I don't because most of them suck. There's been a few
not wrong.
examples in the past where they did a remake and it was pretty good. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing. Those were good remakes. They were decent, But
The Thing was
Nightmare,
more of a
that
prequel.
Nightmare, I hated it. I hated that. I hated Psycho, and I damn sure couldn't stand the Halloween stuff that they did when they were like trying to reboot that series.
I
They were
liked it. I liked the
freaking
first
horrible.
2 movies of those. I hated the third one.
The
I couldn't stand
the Psycho one was a complete mess. What a shit show.
Never
Garbage
seen either
through
one.
and through. I don't know. I wouldn't say all remakes are bad, but there's a couple that are really, really horrible. I wouldn't give that to the Freddy one though. Because again, if you could picture Robert Englund in that spot, that movie's great. You could if you look at it that way, it's like there was a way for them to have done it right, and they chose not to.
I prefer the Friday the 13th remake over the
I still like that one too.
over
like both of
the
them.
I hated that movie. It wasn't Jason. I don't care what anybody says. Jason doesn't hold captives like he's Leatherface.
And again, he wasn't holding captives. It was the connection between, because he saw his mother. He thought it was his mother. Like, that's how retarded he is. That's why it worked for me.
I'll
'Cause
say
he
the
didn't
new
he didn't do it with everyone. He did it with one person, and then when she backstabbed him, he just lost it completely. He just wanted to kill her and everyone else who came near him.
I'll say the new Nightmare on Elm Street had one thing going for it, and that's Katie Cassidy. So
Yeah. Well,
No, I think everybody would have liked the remake, the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street. That nobody would have had a problem with it if it was Robert Englund, but the same exact movie.
Yep. That's what I said too.
That's why I think everybody is making a big deal about it. It was a good movie. You just wished that Englund
that it was
in
Robert
it.
Englund. Yeah.
I
So
personally,
you're not
I
giving
personally-
it. You're admitting you're not giving it a fair shake.
I personally didn't like the story. I'm sorry, I just didn't. And it's the same thing with that Friday the 13th one. I actually went to the
What are you
movie theater
talking
to
about?
watch
What's wrong with the story? The
that.
story was spot on.
I gotta go
I
back and
didn't
watch
like.
it 'cause
I
it's been a
did not
while.
like the flow of the story. I just didn't like it. And that Friday the 13th one, I went to the theater to see that, and I damn near walked out of the theater on that one too. It was freaking horrendously bad.
The story
Horrendous.
on the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street was perfect.
Yeah. It was the Freddy story.
It
They
was
the shit that
legit
they-
canon.
Yeah, because what it was is they took all those parts that they peppered in Freddy's full story throughout the other movies. And in
Yes.
fact, even what do you call it? The Freddy versus Jason. Like, they took that big chunk of it all right, that's his backstory. They put it into the remake, and they're like, okay, they floated better.
Because
it was a twist too, because they did it in a way where he could have actually been innocent, and then they find the secret room and like, oh no, he was really guilty.
Yep. Yeah, because in the original idea behind Nightmare on Elm Street was he was going to be a
Kevin Spacey.
yes, and but because of it was the 80s and they didn't think
They skirted the line with it.
They,
like,
yeah. Even what they did do, they were still kind of cutting it close with the audience because they did not think the audience would appreciate making him one of those types of characters. So they went with he was just a child murderer instead, and even that was risky for the time.
But it was still insinuated in the first movie, even if you watch it, like that he did more. It wasn't just that he was a slasher. They insinuated,
especially the one where they pull him out and they have the demon slugs or whatever. I forget which one that was.
Was
it Final Nightmare?
Oh man, I can't remember which one it was.
But
but his daughter's in that. They kind of like allude to it.
They clarify it. They clarify it in the later movies 100%. And that's why by the time you get Jason and Freddy, he's straight up like he's looking the photos. These are my children, all that shit. And it's like, ooh, That's a lot right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think and as you can see, that they didn't really come around to the full story till later on in the movies, which time had gone by, and the Overton window and all of that. People were, accepting more in entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think the biggest downvote to Nightmare on Elm Street and both that Friday the 13th remake, and it's not always necessarily a fact, but in these two, it absolutely was. That nobody wanted to see it. Nobody wanted to see it. Both of their box office takes were so abysmal that they never bothered to do anything more with either of them at the time.
Well,
As a matter of fact, nobody, when they polled people, would you like to see another one? And everybody was like, no. And that's why they dropped it. And they decided that they weren't going back to that again. And it was the same thing with that Friday the 13th, or the way they originally did it. Most of the real fans, or the longtime fans of the Friday 13th series, they didn't like it, and they didn't want to see a repeat. Is it to say that every single scene in that Friday 13th remake was horrible? No, I'm not saying that. But the overall arc of the way that story went, how they tried to rush in like 2 or 3 movies into one movie, because that's what they did. I thought that was horrible. It was horrendous. They took parts 2 and 3 and kind of jammed them into one movie, and then added elements of other parts of their Friday 13th series into it to try to create this new timeline for them. It was all rushed, and it was a freaking mess.
Well, here's the thing. Genre, though, is kind of like dead at that point, too.
Well, it was. That's why they were trying to put new blood into it. And here's the thing. It didn't do as horrible as you were saying. I mean, the Friday the 13th one pulled in $92 million off of a $19 million budget. That's not abysmal. That's still decent numbers for a slasher film, for sure.
I mean, it's better than what My Bloody Valentine did.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. Like, there were ways that they could have made it better, 100%. I agree 100% on that. But again, for what they had in there, like, I prefer that Jason was actually the killer from day one instead of the mother. Because there's some of the kills in the original movie that bothered the shit out of me. It's like, I'm not going to believe that, a 120-pound-year-old lady would be able to do what she did. And that's why they're like, yeah, we need to actually do something better by the sequel. And then the one who really made sure Freddy was, Jason was amazing was what's his face?
Kane Hodder.
No, Tom Savini. Tom Savini wrote the proper way of with the special effects dude who he gave him the hockey mask, he gave him the look, he gave him more of the backstory, like to make him more of like a zombie type character too. At a certain point, like that was all Tom Savini, and he needs proper credit for that. I think that they screwed him over by not giving him more props when it came to Jason, because he really fleshed him out the way the Jason that we love, So.
Mr. Pulp Noir says the Texas Chainsaw remake wasn't that good. There's a couple of remakes out there, and yeah, I agree. The only good Texas Chainsaw is the first original one.
Yeah.
I hate the other ones. Even the part 2 was awful.
And I gotta agree. I mean, the other thing too, Nightmare on Elm Street. Look at the box office on that. That pulled in 117 million off of 35 million budget. So they didn't do terrible. But again, like had you replaced Jackie Earl Haley with Robert Englund, that movie would have been like 200 million easy in the box office.
Well, do you think at some point, and we talk about some of the backstory that should be in these characters, a little bit of explanation? I think sometimes when you get movies like that, they try to over-explain it.
Yeah, but I think there's a fine line there between explaining just enough and over-explaining it. Yeah, but here's the thing too: in both of those movies, they went with more of a horrific kind of. They wanted more scary than kind of campy. So that was the other big difference. And when you go that horrific, either you have to go all out completely or get back to the roots of it. And they went all out instead of going to the roots. So you did the roots, then you would have had something better there, something stronger.
Well, here's another thing to chew over when we're talking about some of these remakes and reboots and like extensions of these movies. There's a way to make subtle changes in it without actually destroying the core value of what the characters are. And I would actually bring up Freddy versus Jason as being one of those. They did make a few tweaks to the character, but they didn't overall change how the characters really were. And I
Yeah.
think that's why that movie works so well, is because
Yes.
they only made tweaks without making major changes to the character.
Yep, I
Absolutely.
agree.
Which is
And
good.
another awesome example of the fact that you can reboot and remake a film and be very true to the sources. I think it's either Village of the Damned or Children of the Damned, and it's basically, if you put the newer version up to the older version, it's like a side by side comparison. It's spot on.
Mhm.
I can't remember which Damned movie it was.
Well, they did one of, what was it, Children of the Corn? I think they redid that at some point too, didn't they?
No,
No,
not sure.
Not
but they
sure.
are doing a Children of the Corn. They are making a new that is a new one coming out.
Mhm. And you know what, too? Like I'm looking at stills between like the Freddy's, and yeah, I'm still going back to 100%. It's not just that the actor was kind of the wrong choice, but it was 100% the design. He's a smaller guy on top of it. You got to remember that Robert Englund is bigger than Haley Earl there, and again, it's the face. I'm sorry, it really is. Because I could show you right now. I'll share screen real quick.
Oh, Children of the Corn. There was a remake. It was in 2020.
Okay, they're doing another new
And they're
movie.
doing another one. Yeah, they're doing another one. It's slated to be released this year, according to most of these sites.
It's going to
Yeah.
be wildly different, and it looks interesting from the trailers I've seen.
Children of the non-GMO corn, Frankie said. But I mean, just look at the comparison between these characters. One, you could see, even like as menacing as he is and all this, the big joy in his face. Like he's so loving what he's doing. This thing just looks creepy and weird. The giant bridge of the nose, how deformed he truly is.
I think that's a bad picture.
But there's a lot of them that are bad like that. I mean, you could kind of go through them. I mean, there's nothing likable about that face. It just looks odd. The nose that's extra small, the space between the eyes. Like I'm talking from an artist perspective on all that. Like this just it doesn't look right. It does not.
That's an
look right.
exaggeration right there.
What is?
That whoever made that picture right there.
It looks like these are legit photos.
No, but it would look like a YouTube thumbnail. The WTF.
Oh yeah, that was for
They just
Joe
brighten it up.
Bob's thing or whatever.
Yeah, they just brighten that shit up. But I mean,
Yeah.
like look at that. Like it's just gross looking. The pulled skin, the way that it is. And you look at Robert.
That's what you look like when you're burnt.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. They went far too realistic with it. No, you missed what I'm saying.
I get it.
They took the fun out of the character. Like, look how much life he has.
Well, yeah, they weren't going with fun. They were going with this is who Freddy is.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can look at the original too here. He still has way more. If you can't get an expressive face out of this, and that's where you lose it, because Freddy's whole character is about that. It's the expression.
Yes,
it's how alive he is, and this guy was not alive. He looked like a walking corpse throughout the movie.
But
even when he's smiling, like, come on. I'm sorry. Like, and look how tiny he is. He looks like he's 3 feet tall.
Well, he is a short guy.
And that's what I'm saying. That's not menacing. You see Robert Englund coming at you like that. Like that's scary.
Yeah, Robert Englund used to freaking torment my nightmares when I was a kid.
Me too.
And Jason. So
yeah, me too.
Like for sure. I mean, come on, please. I couldn't stand this character as a kid. You know, I watched the movies and shit, but then because my older brother tried to not Frankie, but a different one. He tried to really torment the shit out of us. He had like the mask in the trunk of his car, and he would take it out, and we would leave it in there with the glove and try to fucking scare the shit out of us. I remember the first time he put it on, he came running out of a bathroom down the hallway, and I ran up the stairs. He was trying to chase me. I turned around and kicked him in the mouth.
Were you crying and screaming?
I was screaming. I mean, what was I, like freaking 7? I ran up the stairs. I turned around. I kicked him in the face, and he ripped off the mask, grabbing his nose, and he started crying.
So did he chase after you, yelling "without papers"? Without papers?
You son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
Like, I don't know. Like I said, every shot of his face is just stupid to me. I mean, yeah, real burn victim, but that's not what you want to see in this kind of slasher movie. You want to see a guy who could actually, you could see the subtlety in his expressions all over the place, every single shot. You can't see shit with the other guy. So I think that's the big difference, the big takeaway, at least for me.
I think the problem that people have with the movie is that it's not Robert England.
Well, like I
I'll have
said,
to rewatch the remake again. This has been a
I
while.
really think that's the only
for the
people
diehards, I'm going to agree with you on that. I'll say yeah, but I like the movie. I did.
I think
For
if
what it
people
is.
are honest,
Mhm.
that's really the real problem that they have with the remake. It's
Yeah.
not even really is it a remake? I guess it is.
It
Yeah,
is a
this one
remake.
is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I watched it and I was bored out of my mind with it. Bored out of my mind.
Because
watching
it wasn't Robert England. Robert England brings
I don't think it was
personality
just
to the
that.
character.
I just didn't like the way the flow of the story went. Like everything, it was just it was garbage to me.
No,
And I felt
'cause
the
you
same way.
sat
I
there-
felt the same
you-
way. I felt the
know
same
you,
way about the
Tommy.
newer Halloween movies. I hated them too. I hated
Yeah.
every last one
Tommy,
of them.
Tommy, I
Mm.
know you. You sat down, you were like, I'm gonna hate this movie, but I'll watch
Yes.
it anyway.
I know that's 100. Tommy did that with the My Bloody Valentine right off the bat. He said,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna hate this movie."
Well, I told you I tried watching it before and I didn't like it, and that was
because
that
it's
was
a
many
remake.
years ago. Many years ago.
He's a
Before all
mule,
this
guy.
you know.
But see,
He's
Tommy,
a stubborn old man.
but
He
but see,
is.
Tommy, the only reason why I'm fighting you on it too is because I haven't seen any of them, and then I watched them literally back to back days, so I had no connection with either film, and I could appreciate both of them. I could hate both of them. Well, the parts that I didn't like, I could hate for whatever reason that they were, but I still enjoyed both movies. Something like this, like I'll agree completely because it was the character was totally different. I mean, the story was there, all those elements were there, but the character was totally different because Robert Englund never played Freddy as a coward. This guy did. So right from the beginning, and they did it for a reason because they were trying to throw the audience off. So I understood where they were coming from a writer's aspect. Him running from the parents, him going into the boiler room building, whatever the fuck it was, and he was in complete fear, like, leave me alone and all this shit. And then later in the movie, you find out when the kids are actually doing the proper research and all that shit, and they find the hidden room. And they're like, oh, the parents are 100% right. This guy straight up was the worst of the worst. So that I think that's where the big takeaway was, where in the original movie and all the other ones, Robert Englund, when they showed him as you know, his human form, or when they went into some of his backstory, he was proud of what he did. He was a true monster, and then he became even more powerful when he became this kind of demon that's haunting them from their dreams. So, and then he got such he was so satisfied from all of it. So again, it's the way that the character is portrayed. That's the big problem with it. So yeah, had Robert Englund been in the remake, he wouldn't have done it like that. They wouldn't have gone that same direction.
That's why they didn't have him.
Right.
Because they wanted him to not be likable at all.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, because like you don't want to be rooting for the pedo. You don't want that. So I think they were wise in what they were doing, but at the same time they missed the mark because it's the essence of the character was stripped away in order to tell the story that they felt that they had to fucking tell. But
I do think it would have been interesting if it wasn't actually him that did this stuff, and it would have gave his motivations more meaning, like why he would go after the kids and stuff.
Yeah,
and
like
the
if
parents
they had wrongly accused him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That would have been the proper thing to do then. And that way you could retcon it almost too. Because we still like Freddy. We like watching him and everything. And it would have made more sense. But to go full on, he was definitely Kevin Spacey then. Ooh, yeah.
Well, I think in a way they did kind of touch on it in the original movies when they said that, his mother, who was a nun, was raped by, what was it, like 1,000 lunatics?
Yeah.
And it was part of the reason for his derangement. So they did kind of hit on it in the original movies.
Right. But that I mean, that is the thing too. In those original movies, you got to agree with me, Tommy. He loved what he was doing. He was never afraid.
Yeah, because he was literally like, before he was killed, was like an evil person. Like He was
Yeah.
like the devil incarnate, basically.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, you want your slasher to be a complete monster,
Mhm.
but there has to be some kind of thing where, like, you can't go full creep with them 100% and then be like, yeah, we're gonna root for him. I don't want to root for that Haley for doing what he was. No, you're
Mhm.
wrong. You're wrong.
Well, there was a lot of hints in the movie about how creepy he was, like when he would take his claw and like run it up somebody's skirt or their
Oh, yeah.
nightdress and stuff like that. So they hinted at exactly what he was,
Oh,
Yeah.
but they did it. They
100%.
did it in a way where it was creepy, but it could have been a lot more than what they showed. So
Yeah.
For
they
sure.
they just gave you like a little glimpse of what
Mhm.
what a vile person he was.
Right.
Mr.
But that-
Pulp Noir says he watched Freddy versus Jason as a kid. That's probably pretty bad. It depends on how old you were, like
As a
child.
kid? I feel old now.
I mean, I seen horror movies when I was super young as well. And
Hell, I seen the original Friday the 13th in the theater as well as Halloween, and
Yeah.
Star Wars, and
Star Wars. Those
The
last
year I
three-
graduated was Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, Freddy versus Jason was great. So happy we did that.
He was 10. Huh? No,
Yeah.
it's really not that bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think maybe the first horror movie I saw was maybe 7-ish, 6 or 7.
England's
was pretty
Freddy, monster with a sense of humor. Yeah, twisted sense
Yeah.
of twisted humor. Yeah.
Yeah, if you just go again, cowardly creep who then he just wants vengeance and then like he wants to continue doing what he's doing. Like that's a different story from a twisted humor, a monster with that sense of humor and again like and he was fearless. When you approach in two different ways like that, there's certain things you could do and certain things you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it doesn't work, and that's why like the end of the movie when they have the jump scare with the remake, it doesn't work for me because like he tries to throw a funny line in there and it's like it misses the mark because that's not the Freddy. You can't go from one to the other in the span of one movie either like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. That's my take on it. Do I still think that what they had was there? I could see what they were going for, and that's why I could appreciate it from like a writing aspect and the creator's aspect and what they did with the shots and all that stuff. Like, there's so much that I enjoyed from it. But you could say that with so many movies as well. It's like there's certain things I could definitely appreciate, and because I was never like a super diehard of all those things. I mean, I know there are the people that got the tattoos of them and everything else, and they're so fanatical in every possible way that even the mention of a remake or that they're doing another one and they're casting someone else, like they already start screaming from the mountains.
Tommy enters the chat.
Like I don't know. I mean, there are certain arguments that could be made, but at the same time, if it's handled the right way, there is a way of telling those stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like same thing with the Evil Dead. Everyone was so hell bent against the remake.
Well, I was just gonna say. I was
I like
just
the
gonna
remake of that.
mention.
I liked it.
I was just gonna
too.
mention Evil Dead. I will not watch Evil Dead if Bruce Campbell isn't in it.
And see, and that's the same thing. It's like the Freddy fans. Same deal. Robert Englund's not in it. It's going to be a piece of shit. Just right off the bat.
I don't know. There's another one. I tried to watch that Evil Dead. It wasn't the worst thing I ever seen, but I didn't like it.
Yeah. See,
Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell is Evil Dead.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you just can't have Evil Dead without him.
He is. I mean, again, what they have in there, it's definitely a story that could be Evil Dead, but it's not what they had done in the original movie. So when you go more horror, and again, I was fine with the horror aspect 100%. I think that girl did a great job, especially when she got possessed. There's a ton of it that I love. I think the ending could have been stronger, and they should have had him in there. The original plan was to have him in there in the end, and then the following movie was going to be another Ash movie. And then
the version I seen, Vinny, at the very end, there is like a little add-on scene where he shows you see him in a car or something.
Is Delta?
I'd seen that in the version that I seen. So
Yeah,
I mean, they had it at the very end, but I think it was like too little, too late, and it doesn't.
I
really
thought it was a
add
truck.
anything
It
to
wasn't the
story.
Delta.
It was a truck. Yeah, it wasn't the Delta.
Was it a truck? I thought it
it
was
was a
a
truck.
Delta.
It was a Jeep or a truck. She comes.
No, because I thought I seen the Delta. No, I remember. I thought I seen the Delta pull up.
The Delta was in the movie. It was in the movie. She's sitting on it when they get to the cabin. It's like all dilapidated, and she's sitting on top of it. When I think she's talking about getting clean and all that shit. It's in the movie already. So no, he came like in a Jeep or a truck or something, and he's supposed to kind of save her. Like he opens up the door and like she gets in. But their plan was 3 movies. It was going to be hers and the introduction of her character, all the sick shit that happened to her. Then it was going to be an Ash movie where she's supposed to like I think like the way that they led up to it, and then in the end it was going to be a similar type ending, like it's like his perspective, and then they were going to have a third one where the two of them are together, and he's kind of like he almost takes her under his wing kind of thing to try to stop this and put the book back to where it needs to be. But that's why I love that they ended up doing they continued his story with the TV series, and then they added those other characters, but it worked, So either way, I have no problem with the Evil Dead movies. I think they all worked. Was that probably like I don't know.
I actually really want to see the new one.
The new one looks from the trailer that they showed. The only thing is I don't like that they're messing with kids in there.
Yeah, I will not see it because of that. I wouldn't see the other one because it's
a horror movie. It doesn't
gore.
It doesn't have it's gore. It doesn't have any comedy. And when she fucks with them, like she's getting that satisfaction. You're not like laughing along with her. You're like, oh, that's sadistic. Like especially for me, like I still enjoyed that what she was trying to do and what the character was doing, but I wasn't rooting them on. With the Bruce Campbell movies, you're rooting for Bruce the entire time, and that's why it's a different kind of angle that you're coming from it.
Yeah, because like that's the one horror, Bruce Campbell, the whole Evil Dead verse. That's the one horror where there's a hero.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you had more of that in these kind of slasher movies, if something's written in a good way, and you could have like a type of hero character like him, you could have another big hit, but it's difficult because all that pressure is on that main character. Whoever you cast, however you write it, it has to be amazing. And Bruce is one of the few people that were able to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the only unfortunate was Ash. Ash was the man. He was trying to force you to shop at his favorite store.
Shop smart.
Shameless plugs for S-Mart. That's horrible.
Yeah.
When Kmart merged with Sears, I would use that line all the time.
That's hilarious. But that's the thing too. In the TV series, they changed it. It wasn't S-Mart anymore. He was working on a new place.
Yeah.
And he hated it. Oh shit.
Him and Pablo watching Raw every Monday.
I think he pioneered it. So Frankie Nose says Ash worked too because an audience could get comic relief for intense horror scenes. Yep. And I think I really think that Ash with his Evil Dead verse, he kind of pioneered the whole horror. Well, I shouldn't say pioneer because he wasn't the first, but he really made it like kind of a mainstream thing to have horror like comedy be a major aspect of the horror. Like it wasn't like just peppered in, like it really is horror comedy. Freddy has comedy in it, but comedy isn't like a major part of the movies, not as much as in the Evil Dead.
It's not the main focus. It's
Yeah, like you always can expect a one-liner out of Freddy, but the rest of it is horror.
Yep.
Well, I think that's because the way that Bruce Campbell took the approach to it when he's working with Raimi on there, it wasn't going to be just like traditional comedy, like punchlines and everything like that. It was a bit of the slapstick stuff that he added into it that nobody else was really adding into horror at the time, and I think that's what made the biggest difference between that and the other comedy horrors.
Yeah, I think he said that the Three Stooges was one of his inspirations.
Oh yeah, all 3 of them. Sam Raimi, him, and the other producer. Oh, I forgot the guy's name. Shit, I forgot his name. But yeah, the three of them, they love the Three Stooges. That's why they put it in all their stuff. Even like the TV series. Remember, like
Yeah.
when you see him at the store he was working on, and he had to put away the light bulbs, and he dropped
Yep.
every single one of them.
Yeah.
That's so good.
He's
Yeah,
like,
that- I
I
mean-
love. Yeah,
Okay.
that's like that's what I love about Ash is he's like the hapless hero.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
like he's not just like this a straight up hero. Like he's really just an everyday guy who is like trying to make right the stuff that he's
Mhm.
messed up, but along the way he makes bigger and bigger mistakes.
Yep.
And
He means well in his heart, you know,
yeah.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't always all work out the way he plans.
Now, kids,
Yeah.
whatever you do, don't aspire to be Ash. You will probably burn down your home.
Well, I mean, like look how everything was fine, and then what does he do? He's trying to get laid with this young chick, and he's high off his ass. He's, oh, you want some poetry? I don't have poetry, but this is the closest I have. He's reading from the book he's not supposed to read from.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, which he keeps. Didn't he have like a stash of pot in
Weed.
it too?
Yeah, like a bookmarker.
Well, where-
Yeah.
Isn't the trunk that he had it in was where his stash was at?
Oh,
I
something
think-
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was both. Like it was in there, and then you could see like
Mhm.
he's literally stuck the weed in between. And he's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
how
I
about
think
this
that's
little
right.
ditty?"
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh shit, that
He's
was
so
great.
awesome. Like
He
I
is.
know I've told this story before, but I have to tell it again. Back on one of my old accounts, I was following Groovy Bruce. He is on Twitter, and I said at Groovy Bruce, Superman or Batman. And because I was hoping he'd say Superman because I've always been a Superman fan.
Mhm.
And he actually replied to me and he quote tweeted me and he said, Everyman. And that totally made sense because if you think about Bruce, Ash Williams is the everyman.
Yep.
Mhm.
I just loved that.
That was fantastic. Yep.
Yeah.
You gotta love that. And he's right. It's the everyman. That's the one you can get behind for sure. Peter
Yep.
Parker, I mean Spider-Man, he's the everyman.
Yep.
You know, those characters are that. Superman has the everyman, he's got the virtues that everyman wants to strive towards. Batman is, you know, if you had the money and the capability, I mean, anyone could have been Batman. You
Yeah.
know, there's something that is great about it. And again, Bruce's character, Ash, he's an everyman. He's the dumb schlub, but he does the right thing. He's El Jefe.
Yes. Yes. I love
That's
that
excellent.
they're calling him what's the Pedro Pablo
Pablo.
Pablo's calling him Jefe and he's like
Mhm.
I'm not your Jefe chief or how does he say it? You got to find a new Jefe chief or something like that and
Yeah.
that's Jefe is chief in Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Chief
just
or
it's
boss.
just little things like that. It's just he's so funny.
It's so good. Yeah. And throughout that thing too, like he messes up too a bunch of times and he has called him like Pepe or he calls him different names in there and then he was there. No, Pablo, my little Pablito.
Yeah.
Those
I really hope
characters
they do
grew
the
on me.
animated with his voice to continue Ash versus the Evil Dead.
He said he's willing to do that. He
Mhm.
said he's down for it.
Yep.
So they
Awesome.
should. That would be great.
We'll have to cover that when they do. We should cover the series too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm down for it. I'll watch all of them
Hell yeah.
again.
Yeah, that series was great.
Well, all right. I think we should probably wrap up. This is, I think, our longest stream so far.
We took those detours, but I mean, it all works because it was kind of along the lines of remakes anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took detours right back into horror, which was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So let's go around the horn and tell people where they can find you. And I'll have everybody's links in the description anyway. But yeah. All right. Draven, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Tell everybody where to find you and what you got going on.
Yeah, so tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be watching the 15th, February 15th episode of Dynamite. Should be a good show. Always fun watching wrestling with the guys, and giving it shit if it deserves it, and praising some of the stuff that we like it in it. And always a pleasure being here talking horror. I look forward to the next one.
Yep, it's great to have you. Great having you. All right, Benny, you're up.
Yeah, you can catch me on Fridays and Sundays, Vinny Art. I think this week we're going to be. I want to talk about Resident Evil Death Island, the new animated movie that they're doing, which looks amazing from the trailer. I want to get into that a little bit. I want to talk about, not necessarily want to talk about the Snyderverse, but how I think it's hilarious that people think that they could save it if it goes to Netflix. I really want to talk about that because, oh my God, I think it's hilarious. So we have a couple of kind of fun topics. We might showcase a campaign or two. But yeah, you could tune in over there. And in the meantime, if you want some awesome books, if you love some horror books and ghost stories, we got Through the Woods, 100-page fantastic comic book, hardcover, oversized. You get the works. We have the writer is in the chat. I did everything on that. That's available. We have Shadow of the Kraken and City of Venus. So all those campaigns are all live and active now. Go to mellaartworld.com or vinnyart.com. It'll take you straight to the campaigns. And if you're looking for the other one, you could just go to my Twitter account and everything's pinned on the top. Thank you so much, Trina, and everyone on panel and everyone in chat.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right, guinea pig, your turn.
It's just a shame that your guinea pig had to be a homicidal maniac like Jack Frost.
I can't let it go without having that. Hey, everybody, what's going on? It's just your friendly neighborhood jackass. That's right. The guinea pig who takes no and keeps throwing it right back in your face because I refuse to submit to anybody else's ideology. And we're having fun the way we only know how, doing BattleBot videos, toy reviews, and of course the guinea pigs taking over the channel like they should. Stop by, check out some of the shorts as we're still working on videos because we are way behind on everything. We got tiny little paws and it's hard to reach the keyboard and get this stuff all done. But thanks for being here. Everybody's been in the chat. Be sure to share it out even after stream is over so other people can see what Trina is doing over here and give her some views, hopefully, and maybe some subs too if they enjoy what she's doing. Thanks to everybody on the panel, and we will nibble you next time.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. All right, yeah. So next week, per request by the Guinea Pig Collective, we'll be reviewing Voices, which is free to watch on Tubi. And I'm looking forward to that because that was a great movie. So yeah, it'll be fun. And yeah, same time. Same bat time, same bat channel, 7 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. And I want to thank everybody who showed up. Nice. Thank you guys for being in the chat. Frankie, Mr. Pulp Noir, OBG70. Yeah. Panel members, everybody, and thank you everybody who's watching now and later. I really appreciate it, and hope you all have a great night. Yeah, let's do the outro. Okay, hold on. I gotta time this right.
You can do it, man.
You got it.